In this first video, what we'll do is we'll work on finding standard deviation, variance, and some information you need for Chapter 3, finding your min, your max, your Q1, your Q2, and your Q3. So let's take a look. The first thing that you'll do is you'll go to your stat key on your calculator. Once you press it, the following will be displayed. Now notice we haven't done anything yet. In order to do any kind of calculations, what we need to do is we need to actually enter in our data. This is where we'll do it, on the edit screen with the edit option. So press enter. When you press enter, you will show up with a screen like this where you have a bunch of lists where you can type in your data. You want to always type in your data into L1. L1 is always going to be considered your default list as to where all your data is. So I'm picking a random data set of 1, 2, 3, 4. Each time after you press in a number, you're going to press the enter key. So our data set's just the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then what we're going to do is go back to the stat key, press the stat key one more time. It'll bring back the same menu we had before, except for now our calculator has our data in it. So we actually want it to go do some calculations on our data set. So we're going to arrow to the right once over to calculate. So we're going to arrow over to the right once to calculate, and notice it's a different screen with different options. For Chapter 3 in statistics, we are only going to do the one variable stats. So we will select that first option that's listed and press enter. So we'll press enter, and depending on your calculator, it may look like the following, where yours may just go back to the home screen and say one variable stats, or it will look like this. What you do want to make sure is that under list, if your calculator looks like this, that it says list 1. You don't need to type anything in for the frequency list or anything like that. If your calculator automatically went to the home screen and all you see is one variable stats written out, you're absolutely perfect. It's automatically going to do all these calculations on list 1, no matter what, unless you tell it to do something different. So it's just going to automatically do it on list 1. So what we'll do is we'll go down and arrow over to calculate at the bottom there. If you were on the home screen, you're just going to press enter. So we'll go down to calculate, press enter, or if you're on your home screen, just press enter. And what you'll notice is a lot of information comes out. We're not going to use it all, but we need to know what it means. The first thing that you see is an X with a bar on it. Remember, X bar is your sample mean. So that's your first thing that you're going to use at some point is your sample mean, the X bar. The next thing that you're going to see is I think it's the fourth option down, the SX. The SX is your sample, because it's just a regular S, your sample standard deviation. Not variance, standard deviation. The option below it, where you've got that weird looking O thing, is called a sigma, and that is your population standard deviation. So we've got our mean, which is the first option, the X bar. We've got our SX, which is the fourth option, is your sample standard deviation. The fifth option, your sigma X, is your population standard deviation. And we do see some more information. We see an N equals 5. The N is just the number of data set, things in your data set. We had 5 numbers that we entered. Now notice, if you look over on the left towards the bottom near the Q1, there's an arrow down. That means there's even more information here than what we're seeing. So we can continue to hit the arrow down key on your calculator to get more information. So there is more there. So we can take a look by pressing the down arrow several times. And when we do, look, you can keep on hitting the down arrow over and over and over again. Let's see, there is a lot of information here. The first thing that we see is a min, the min of 1. That's your minimum data value. Whether or not you put your data in order, it doesn't matter. It does it for you, and it figures out what the smallest value in your data set is. Here, it's saying it was 1. Notice the last thing that we see is a max. That's your highest value your data takes, which is the number 5. At the very end of chapter 3, we work on making what's called a box and whisker plot. You'll need this min and the max as part of it. You'll also need the 3 numbers in the middle between the min and the max. The Q1 is what's called our first quartile. The Q3 is called our third quartile. That makes up the box of the box and whisker plot. The MED in the middle, the number 3, stands for median. Another name for that is your Q2, your second quartile. It splits all of your data in half. So the min, the Q1, the median or Q2, the Q3, and the max, those 5 values, make up what are called your 5-number summary that when you go through chapter 3, you needed to use to make your box and whisker plot. So all of this stuff gets used, and just in various different contexts in chapter 3. So just to show you again, there's a lot of information. It automatically calculates it on whatever data is in your list 1.